The Supreme Court has refused to stay the ordinance by the central government taking control of administration of civil servants in the national capital. But the Supreme Court has issued a notice on the Delhi government's challenge, saying that the centre has taken control over the administration, and that was the plea of the Aam Aadmi Party government in Delhi that they had gone to the Supreme Court against. But for now, the Supreme Court has refused to stay the centre's ordinance. My colleague Sunil Prabhu now joining us for more details on this. So Sunil, definitely a temporary setback for the Aam Aadmi Party government because there's no stay on the ordinance. But on the other side, there will be a plea that will be considered next Monday. Tell us about that as well.
Well, there were two main points. One, of course, to question and quash the entire ordinance, and of course that stay, as you said, which the Supreme Court refused to stay. But having said that, Mr. Singhvi, who's arguing on behalf of the Delhi government, saying that the Lieutenant Governor is acting like a super chief minister, and talked about the consultants and the executive order that has been passed to remove, over 400 odd consultants, and it's in that backdrop that the Supreme Court said we will hear that matter next Monday, and then of course posting to hear the entire findings on this, within 2 weeks to hear that entire issue of the Delhi ordinance that had been promulgated and for final hearing. So it's in that backdrop we'll have to wait and see how things play out. But definitely some setback, some hearing, no finality at all. But definitely, as Mr. Singhvi himself has been pointing out publicly, the process is the punishment, but they do definitely hope to get some relief.
Right, we'll wait to see what happens next Monday, Sunil. Thanks very much for joining us with those details. Time for a short break now. News continues on the other side. Do stay tuned.
How do you make the most of the India opportunity as an investor? For that answer, all roads lead to BKC in Mumbai on the 13th of July. 3 big money managers describe the size of this opportunity. 2 of the largest mutual fund CIOs then tell you about the mega trends that they're investing in. Will the current capex cycle be similar to the one between 2003 and 2008? We get that answer from Sanjeev Sharma of ABB in a conversation with veteran investor Madhusudan Kela. And then we round it off with 2 of the most prominent investing names talking about how to make the large bets and make it really big. All of this and more at the Trident Hotel in BKC on the 13th of July. Catch the action live on BQ Prime and NDTV.
"23 years of the big fight." This show is not just an ordinary debate show, but it is a responsibility in service of our viewers.
NDTV for news you can trust. No sensationalism, no ugly debates, no agenda. We strive to be transparent and unbiased in our reporting so you can get news that you can rely on.
A debate has many facets, perhaps no one right answer. Left, right and center. Conversations that get to the core of the debate.
That was fast, right? But tech is evolving even quicker than our abilities to adapt. And that's how I like to roll. टेक्नोलॉजी तो आप सभी के पास है, but what you need is everything else. मेरा नाम है गौरव और अब मैं आ गया हूँ NDTV नेटवर्क पे हर रोज हर हफ्ते अब आपके और पास. Go beyond the now.
In a world filled with noise, we bring you news that you can rely on with accuracy and integrity, because at NDTV, trust is everything.
It's undeniable.
we're facing the crisis of the generation, climate change. And it's happening, not in some far-off distant land or some millions of years away. It's happening now. And it affects everything we know and love. Information around climate change can often feel too distant, too jargony, too scary, too anxiety-filled, too technical, or too political. I'm here to change that. The Climate Explainers, part of NDTV's 6-month-long campaign, building a blueprint for climate action. The climate clock is ticking, but we're just in time.
The NDTV News Network
that informs
inspires,
and illuminates. Watch every side of the story here on NDTV.
because the only side we're on is yours. From breaking news to in-depth analysis,
Covering the latest developments across politics, business and technology.
Bringing you stories that shape our nation and the world.
We have a surprise for you. We're going to ask a bunch of you some special questions, and every correct answer is going to reveal what our surprise is.
I don't know.
Satya Nadella?
Jeff Bezos. Bill Gates probably.
Nehru Place. Saket.
Saket.
Mumbai?
Technical Guruji.
Tech Guruji. Technical Guruji.
Technical Guruji.
चलिए शुरू करते हैं.
When there's too much talking but very little being said, too many voices but hardly any being heard, you turn to a show that puts you front and center. A show that headlines the stories of the people, by the people, for the people. In a world with rapidly shifting power dynamics, India is emerging as a global power. With its new standing, how do Indians view the world?
"23 years of the big fight." This show is not just an ordinary debate show, but it is a responsibility in service of our viewers.
NDTV for news you can trust. No sensationalism, no ugly debates, no agenda. We strive to be transparent and unbiased in our reporting so you can get news that you can rely on.
A debate has many facets, perhaps no one right answer. Left, right and center. Conversations that get to the core of the debate.
That was fast, right? But tech is evolving even quicker than our abilities to adapt. And that's how I like to roll.
Destruction due to extremely heavy rainfall in Himachal Pradesh, but the worst not over yet as there's still a red alert. Himachal Pradesh broke a 50-year rainfall record on Sunday as bridges, highways collapsed and around 500 tourists stranded. The state government says over 20 people have died due to rain-related incidents in the last 48 hours. Heavy rain in parts of Delhi, Punjab and Haryana as well. In Punjab, the Rupnagar city completely submerged underwater. In Delhi, the river Yamuna crosses its warning level at 204 meters. In Ambala in Haryana, a bus overturns, leading to a very narrow escape for passengers. The Supreme Court issues a notice on the Delhi ordinance case but refuses to stay centre's ordinance taking control of civil servants in the national capital. The Delhi government had approached the Supreme Court saying that the Lieutenant Governor is acting like the super CM. That plea to be heard next Monday. 18 people dead in poll-related violence in West Bengal in the last 3 days. The Bengal governor in Delhi likely to meet Home Minister Amit Shah and President Draupadi Murmu. Commonwealth Games gold medalist Lakshya Sen breezed past All England champion Li Shei Feng to clinch the Canada Open. This is Sen's second BWF title. There's been large-scale devastation in several states because of extremely heavy rainfall. The worst hit state has been Himachal Pradesh, that has witnessed cars being washed away, highways collapsing in roads, and houses also collapsing in the hill state because of extremely heavy rainfall, and there's a red alert as well. But another state that is witnessing flood-like situations is Punjab, and my colleague Vedant is there in Punjab and he's joining us from the ground to get us an update. And Vedant, we saw extreme waterlogging in several parts in Punjab, so take us through what the situation looks like right now.
Priyansha, I come to you from Devastation here, and dramatic scenes unfolding there. If I can ask my camera person to show you that people are actually, swimming here, trying to get evacuated. In fact, NDRF personnel are present on the ground here. There you can see there are people who are trying to, the food supply has been hampered here in Devastation as well. And well, right now there is knee-deep water, but in the interior parts of the society, there's almost waist-deep water as we speak. Here you can see NDRF personnel are present on the ground. There was an NDRF boat here as well, which has gone to the interiors of the society to actually get people out. Many people are actually trapped inside their houses, is what we are being told. Food deliveries are a problem, are a big problem. In fact, already around 800 people have evacuated. In fact, in this posh area of Devastation, there are around over 20 residential complexes, all of which have had to be evacuated. There you can see, in fact, आप अगर बताएं यहाँ पर आप ये लेकर आए हैं फूड सप्लाई यहाँ पे लोगों के लिए?
नहीं यही कर रहे हैं जी, जो भी हैं अपना फैमिली रात से फंसी हुई है यहाँ पे, किसी को पानी नहीं मिल रहा है, कुछ भी नहीं मिल रहा, तो सभी के लिए यहाँ पे मदद की जा रही है
जी। पानी और फूड की बहुत प्रॉब्लम इस समय हो रही है, बिजली इस समय बिजली भी नहीं आ रही है।
बिल्कुल जी बिल्कुल, रात से सारे के सारे यहाँ से तंग हैं, बिल्कुल भी कोई पानी की आवश्यकता नहीं है, कुछ भी नहीं है यहाँ पे।
All right, so Priyanshi, there you can see how these people are actually managing because there is no food here, and there you can see there's waist deep water in the lanes of this society. Let's also get in a word from some more residents here who are present. सर ये बताइए कि कितना टफ था, मतलब पिछले 50 घंटे आपके लिए कितने टफ थे यहाँ पे?
बहुत ज़्यादा टफ है, ना यहाँ पे लाइट है जी, ना यहाँ पे कुछ खाने पीने को है। देखो आपके सामने ये अभी लेके आए हैं सामान, दूध लेके आ रहे हैं जी, मतलब बहुत ही ज़्यादा टफ है यहाँ पे। और
कितनी फैमिलीज हैं लगभग अब तक फंसी हुई हैं अभी भी?
800 फैमिली हैं टोटल, जिसमें से 100 के करीब निकली हैं बस।
अच्छा, 100 के करीब निकल गए इस सोसाइटी से। So Priyanshu, as he is pointing out, 100 people have already evacuated this society, and there are at least 20 such residential complexes along this Devastation road. And what we are being told by the local administration is that 1,200 people have been evacuated to safer areas. Of course, a big concern also is the food supply, because food deliveries, what residents are telling us here is that, whether it's milk or daily groceries, there's no supply of any of that. So that is a big concern. And, what residents are in fact telling us is that there is some sense of relief because rain has stopped. Well, there was incessant rain in the past 50 hours. That has stopped. Some relief there, but you can see dramatic, unprecedented scenes really unfolding in Devastation. And let's also try and understand. मैम आप बताइए, आप काफ़ी टाइम से यहाँ पर ये ओवरसी कर रही हैं, ये सारे जो भी यहाँ पर रिलीफ ऑपरेशंस हो रहे हैं, एनडीआरएफ भी इस समय स्पॉट पर है, बहुत मुश्किल है पिछले 50 घंटे। क्या आपने पहले कभी देखा है Devastation में इस तरीके का?
नहीं जी, ये मेरा फर्स्ट टाइम एक्सपीरियंस है, मैं 10 साल से रह रही हूँ, ऐसा कभी नहीं हुआ।
10 साल से कभी आपने इस तरीके का नहीं देखा है यहाँ पे? और अभी जिस तरीके से हम यहाँ पे देख रहे हैं, फूड, बिजली, पानी, बेसिक सुविधाएं भी इस समय नहीं है।
सर बिजली पानी तो है ही नहीं, और फूड हमें एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ने भी प्रोवाइड किया है। हमारे नेबरहुड में पिंड लगता है विलेज हेबतपुर, उन्होंने भी प्रोवाइड किया है, NGOs भी प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं, जिससे जैसा हो रहा है सब कर रहे हैं जी।
Thanks very much for speaking to us. So Priyanshi, here of course residents are reeling under the impact of rain. In fact, if we just talk about this part of Punjab, Devastation is near Mohali, and Mohali has already received 50% of its monthly July rain quota. So that's something that's visible here. Now of course the focus is on evacuations. There you can see there are NDRF personnel also. In fact 100 NDRF personnel are actually present here. There you can see those people in the orange uniform. They are from the Central Rescue Team. They're trying to make sure that evacuations are done. So of course, Priyanshi, the situation is grim, but it's getting better because it stopped raining, and it stopped raining for the past 2 hours. So we hope that at least the families here are safe, and the situation doesn't worsen, because the IMD has predicted that in the next 48 hours the rain situation will indeed get better.
Vedant, you've pointed out that it hasn't rained there for the last 2 hours. In Delhi, we saw that when it stopped raining last evening, the waterlogging situation got better. But in Devastation, even though it has stopped raining, the water levels are still pretty high.
Well, absolutely, Priyansha, and that is really the big concern, because here you can see where I am standing, there's knee-deep water, but if I go even more, if I go further inside, and the NDRF teams are currently not allowing us to go further inside, there's waist-deep water. So the families who are living in the 4th floors or the 5th floors of the society, they can't even think of coming down. So that's really the big problem. And
they are completely submerged. In your background are those vehicles that have been completely submerged, and people in that society have been completely cut off.
Absolutely, that's a very good question, Priyanshi. Let me show you how the parked vehicles here, in fact, are completely submerged in water. In fact, what we are being told by the local administration, and in fact, the RWAs, etc. here, that at least 50 parked vehicles were completely washed away. Let's try and go there. If I can ask my camera person, Sushil Rathi, to follow me, I'll show you how vehicles are completely submerged underwater. There you can see. So these are the vehicles that were actually taken out of the parking spot. There you can see. That is the parking area. If I can ask my camera person to show you, that's a parking area where there is neck-deep water. So there are, what we are being told is there are a couple of vehicles that are still submerged in water, and the NDRF teams tell us that those vehicles are really not the focus right now, because currently it's the people living in this society that need to be rescued first. So that is really the big concern right now. And there you can see people getting water, food supply from outside for the residents who are trapped inside their houses. They've not been able to get out for the past 50 hours. And the situation really got worse yesterday night, is what residents are telling us, where the water levels really rose to the waist level. But somehow, there you can see, Priyanshi, this is the NDRF boat. If I can just ask my camera person to show you, this is how people are being rescued from their houses. It's NDRF boat bringing people from residents from their respective houses. And there are at least 10 such boats present in this particular residential complex, is what the NDRF is telling us. There you can see, Priyanshi, these people have been brought from their houses there. Most of them living in 3rd and 4th floors. And the NDRF's efforts are constantly on to make sure that no more people are actually trapped.
Right,
in fact,
Vedant,
here
if
we
you
just
could
heard a
speak to
woman
some
say
of those
that
people there to get us a sense of what they faced.
Yes, and in fact, we just heard a woman say that one of their family members is actually ailing. Ma'am, अगर आप अभी आए, बहुत मुश्किल रहे होंगे पिछले 50 घंटे?
बहुत मुश्किल।
तो आप कितने घंटे से अपने घर में ट्रैप थी?
हम लोग कल सुबह से
बाहर नहीं निकल पाए? बिजली पानी कुछ भी नहीं है?
कुछ नहीं है, ना बिजली ना पानी।
NDRF वाले आपको लेकर आए?
हाँ जी, हम NDRF वाले लेकर गए।
कितने लोगों की फैमिली है आप?
हम लोगों के 24 फ्लैट है एक टावर में।
अच्छा जी। Okay. So there you can see, Priyanshi, these people saying that they've been inside their houses for the past 50 hours. So let's not hamper actually their rescue operations. This is the NDRF boat currently present here. Sir, Okay, let's try and get a word from some more people here. सर ये बताइए, हाँ जी, बहुत सारे लोग अभी हम देख रहे हैं कि NDRF बोट्स ऊपर से लेकर आए। हाँ, आप इसी सोसाइटी से हैं। कितने लोग अभी भी ट्रैप्ड हैं? कितना टाइम लगेगा आप सब लोगों को बाहर निकालने में?
काफ़ी लोग इस सोसाइटी में फंसे हुए हैं। इस टाइम हम बहुत मुश्किल में हैं। मैं भी 300 से 400 बंदा अभी और अंदर होगा हमारा सोसाइटी में। ये वो लोग जा रहे हैं जिनको मानिए नज़दीक में कोई घर है जी। अभी इसमें कोई इतने सारे लोग होंगे जिनका कोई नज़दीक में नहीं होगा,
तो उनको यहीं पर रहना पड़ेगा जब तक ये सिचुएशन बेटर नहीं होगी।
उनके लिए हमने ये सब बंदोबस्त रखा है जी। बाकी देखिए लोग काफ़ी मदद कर रहे हैं जी। हम सभी लोगों का धन्यवाद करते हैं जो लोग हमारा सहयोग दे रहे हैं।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। For Priyanshi, an important point there is that only those people are actually being evacuated who have somewhere else to go. What about those people who do not have any other any other houses nearby or any other place to go? They will have to stay inside, stay indoors in their houses till the time the situation gets better. Priyanshi?
Absolutely shocking, Vedant. Thanks very much for joining us. As Vedant pointed out, hundreds of people still trapped in that housing society in the Devastation area of the Mohali district, raising several questions of the Tri-City urban planning model that has been much talked about for the past few years. It's the year 2023, but come rain and several people are cut off every year from the rest of the world because of intense waterlogging. In fact, one of the worst hit states across North India has been Himachal Pradesh. Those are visuals that we're showing you from several districts of Himachal Pradesh that have witnessed flooding, intense waterlogging, the rivers there overflowing, the highways and bridges completely collapsing as a result of extremely heavy rainfall over the weekend. That is still continuing. Even the Met Department says that the condition is likely, the state government also says that the condition is likely to get worse. Currently, the worst is not over, and the state government has confirmed that 22 lives have been lost due to rain-related incidents in the state of Himachal Pradesh over just the last 48 hours. And the police confirms that close to 500 tourists are still stranded in the hill state, and several districts have been impacted. Let's just take a look at what the Himachal government says on this. Listen in to Mr. Jagat Singh Negi, the Himachal Disaster Management Minister.
अभी जब हमारी बैठक चली थी उस बीच में भी एक रोड एक्सीडेंट हुआ जिसमें भी करीब मेरे ख्याल 3 लोगों की जानें चली गई, और एक एक्सीडेंट जो है मॉर्निंग में ये जो आनी साइड भी हुआ है उसमें भी मेरे ख्याल 3 लोग हैं। तो अभी 20 से ज़्यादा लोगों की जानें गई हैं, पर इनमें ह्यूमन लॉस ड्यू टू फ्लैश फ्लड्स और लैंडस्लाइड्स कम है, ज़्यादातर जो है रोड एक्सीडेंट्स और अन्य कारणों से है। नंबर ऑफ रोड्स जो लिया गया है वो 1300 से ऊपर बता रहे हैं, परंतु जो मेजर रोड्स हैं जैसे हमारे नेशनल हाईवेज हैं और जो हमारे मेजर डिस्ट्रिक्ट रोड्स हैं वो कम है। अब ये तो लिंक रोड्स हैं, अगर कहीं एक स्लिप भी आ गया तो उसको भी हम काउंट में लेते हैं जब तक वो खुलेगा नहीं। अभी भी जो है 2 दिन के लिए हम लोग है फुल अलर्ट पे हैं। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी ने ये कहा है कि 20 तक हमारा सारा जो भी डिपार्टमेंट्स है सब अलर्ट रहेंगे।
अब हमारा जो रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन है वो ख़त्म हो चुका है। अब रिस्टोरेशंस हमारा ऑपरेशन चल रहा है। पिछले रात से कुल्लू में बिजली की समस्या पैदा हो गई है, पूरे हिमाचल प्रदेश में बिजली की समस्या पैदा हुई है, पेयजल की समस्या पैदा हुई है, सड़कें अवरुद्ध हो चुकी है। उनको खुलवाने का दायित्व अब प्रदेश सरकार कर रही है, और जैसे ही बारिश रुकती है मेरा ये मानना है कि हम उन्हें युद्ध स्तर पर इन सब चीज़ों को कार्यों को पूरा करेंगे। सभी पुलिस के अधीक्षक, सभी प्रशासनिक अधिकारियों, रेवेन्यू सेक्रेटरी और जो हमारे रेवेन्यू मिनिस्टर है सबसे बात की है। जो नुकसान ह्यूमन लाइफ का होना चाहिए था वो बहुत कम हुआ है, यही सबसे बड़ी खुशी की बात है।
Himachal Pradesh has been the worst hit, and the state government confirms that over 20 people have died in the state just over the last 48 hours. These are visuals that we are showing you from Himachal Pradesh. A part of the national highway collapsed because of the extremely heavy rainfall and because of the overflowing rivers in the state of Himachal Pradesh, in this hill state. So an extremely concerning situation there, and because of highways collapsing and highways being blocked as a result of extremely heavy rainfall, the state government says that over 500 tourists are stranded in the hill state, and they advise tourists to not enter Himachal Pradesh for the next 2 to 3 days, as the situation is likely to get worse as more rain is expected for Himachal Pradesh. So let's just take a look at what are the worst hit districts in the state of Himachal Pradesh, and what does the condition look like there? How bad is it? Firstly, this is the state of Himachal Pradesh. The first district we are focusing on is the Kullu district, which is a popular tourist destination. A house came crashing down like a pack of cards today in the Kullu district, as you saw in those visuals. Along with that, there is intense flooding. There's the river in Himachal Pradesh, the river Byas is overflowing, and that is leading to water and flood-like situation in several parts. Next to the Kinnaur district, and in Kinnaur as well, we can see visuals of a highway being completely blocked. Let's look at these visuals of a highway that has been completely blocked, and of course efforts are underway to restore this highway and to restore traffic. Let's now go to Mandi, which is also a district in Himachal Pradesh, close to the center of Himachal Pradesh, and there you can see there's a flash flood-like situation that we saw, and a house was washed away, and this silt, the water actually entered the villages there in Mandi, and this is the overflowing river that is leading to all of this destruction because of extremely heavy rainfall. Next, let's go across to the Solan district of Himachal Pradesh, which is also witnessing flash floods. As you can see in these visuals, the river overflowing, that's impacting the normal life completely, and the normal life has been completely disrupted for people living in these in the hill state, and even for tourists. One popular destination for tourists in Himachal Pradesh is Lahaul Spiti, and that has also been affected, and it's one of the worst affected districts. In fact, a road completely caved in Lahaul Spiti. This is a road that you're seeing, a part of which is still visible in these visuals, but a part of that road completely caved in, as you can see in those visuals, because of the extremely heavy rainfall. Next to Chamba district in Himachal Pradesh, which is in the northern part of the state. Extremely heavy water flow of the rivers there, which is causing a flash flood-like situation. It's an extremely concerning situation, which is completely disrupting normal life. It's leading to highways being blocked. In fact, even the state government has confirmed that 3 national highways have been blocked in the state of Himachal Pradesh, and even state highways have been blocked in the state, and they have advised tourists to not travel to Himachal Pradesh for the coming 2 to 3 days because the rain situation is likely to continue, and in some parts it's only likely to get worse, as there's still a red alert that has been sounded for the state of Himachal Pradesh. 22 people have lost their lives over the last 48 hours, and the local administration says that close to 500 people are still stranded, most of them being tourists that are stranded mostly in Kullu Manali, which is a popular tourist destination, and also in Lahaul Spiti. So the advice right now, if you are not in Himachal Pradesh, if you were planning to travel to Himachal Pradesh, the advice is to postpone those plans for now, at least for this week, because of this flood-like situation in the state and extremely heavy rainfall that's likely to continue. But if you're in Himachal Pradesh already, then there are some helpline numbers that the government has released, and these are helpline numbers that have been released for different districts which can be contacted. In fact, we'll put out those helpline numbers on our screen, and you can see these are the helpline numbers for several districts which you can contact if you are in Himachal Pradesh, or if any of your family members or loved ones are in Himachal Pradesh, and if you want to update the government on their location so that they can be rescued if at all they are in an unsafe place. So the government, including with the NDRF teams, they are undertaking rescue operations there in the state, and these are the helpline numbers that we want to stress on in case you are stranded in Himachal Pradesh, or you know somebody who's been stranded in Himachal. Even mobile network has been disrupted, so people have not been able to make calls as well. That's what the local authorities have confirmed to us. Earlier today, that visual that we're showing you, a building also completely came crashing down in Manali in Himachal Pradesh, which is also one of the most popular tourist destinations. These visuals, extremely shocking, show us how bad the situation is and how it's life-threatening at this point.
दुनिया में कुछ लोग In a world filled with noise, we bring you news that you can rely on with accuracy and integrity, because at NDTV, trust is everything.
It's undeniable. we're facing the crisis of the generation, climate change. And it's happening, not in some far-off distant land or some millions of years away. It's happening now. And it affects everything we know and love. Information around climate change can often feel too distant, too jargony, too scary, too anxiety-filled, too technical, or too political. I'm here to change that. The Climate Explainers, part of NDTV's 6-month-long campaign, building a blueprint for climate action. The climate clock is ticking, but we're just in time.
The NDTV News Network that informs, inspires, and illuminates. Watch every side of the story here on NDTV because the only side we're on is yours. From breaking news to in-depth analysis,
Covering the latest developments across politics, business, and technology. Bringing you stories that shape our nation and the world.
We have a surprise for you. We're going to ask a bunch of you some special questions, and every correct answer is going to reveal what our surprise is.
I don't know.
Satya Nadella?
Jeff Bezos. Bill Gates probably.
Nehru Place. Saket.
Saket.
Mumbai?
Technical Guruji.
Tech Guruji. Technical Guruji.
Technical Guruji.
चलिए शुरू करते हैं.
When there's too much talking but very little being said, too many voices but hardly any being heard, you turn to a show that puts you front and center. A show that headlines the stories of the people, by the people, for the people. In a world with rapidly shifting power dynamics, India is emerging as a global power. With its new standing, how do Indians view the world?
"23 years of the big fight." This show is not just an ordinary debate show, but it is a responsibility in service of our viewers.
NDTV for news you can trust. No sensationalism, no ugly debate, no agenda. We strive to be transparent and unbiased in our reporting so you can get news that you can rely on.
A debate has many facets, perhaps no one right answer. Left, right, and center. Conversations that get to the core of the debate.
Welcome back. We're focusing on the devastation due to the monsoon in several North Indian states. And while we're focused on Himachal Pradesh as the worst hit district, there's also impact being seen in several other states, including Rajasthan. These are shocking visuals that we're getting you from Jaipur in Rajasthan of a hospital being completely inundated because of extremely heavy rainfall there. There you can see the hospital beds have been submerged till their half level because of extremely heavy rainfall that Rajasthan has witnessed over the weekend and even today. So extremely heavy rainfall and waterlogging has caused a hospital to be flooded in Rajasthan's Jaipur. In fact, if we talk about the rainfall that Jaipur and Rajasthan at large has received over the last 2 days, in Rajasthan, in West Rajasthan particularly, the area has received 4 times above normal rainfall according to the Met Department. There you can see patients have been impacted because of the hospital being flooded. This is one of the, of course, hospital is where people come for treatment, but that is turning out to be one of the most non-sanitary places because of intense waterlogging and the hospital being flooded. So extremely concerning situation there in Rajasthan as well, but also in the national capital on the other side, there was some relief today. Over the weekend, there was intense, extremely heavy rainfall in the national capital, and that led to intense waterlogging in several parts of the capital city, including in ITO, in Karol Bagh. There was also waterlogging in the NCR region in Gurugram. So these are visuals that we are showing you of the waterlogging that was seen in the national capital yesterday. But today, the situation definitely has improved. Even the Met Department has lowered the red alert in the national capital. From red alert, it has now been brought to a yellow alert. And there is an expectation of light to moderate rain over the next few days, over the next 5 days. And extremely heavy rainfall is not predicted. So the waterlogging situation is definitely better in Delhi today. But there's still a concern because even light rain or moderate rain over the next few days, accumulating with the extremely heavy rainfall that the city has seen over the past 3 days, over the past 2 days, could lead to a concerning situation. And the Chief Minister was asked exactly that question, whether there's a flood risk for the capital city, and here's what he said.
153 mm बारिश अनप्रेसिडेंटेड है, जिसकी वजह से दिल्ली के लोगों को ज़्यादा तकलीफ हुई। अब एक प्रश्न पूछा जा रहा है जिसका मैं कि क्या दिल्ली में बाढ़ का खतरा है। इसको दो फैक्टर्स से देखना पड़ता है। एक तो ये कि दिल्ली के अपने अंदर कितनी बारिश हो रही है, और दूसरा दिल्ली में बाढ़ का खतरा जो है वो केवल दिल्ली की अपनी बारिश पे कम डिपेंडेंट है। ऊपर से हरियाणा से यमुना में जो पानी हरियाणा में भी हिमाचल प्रदेश से हरियाणा में आता है, और यहाँ से जो दिल्ली में पानी आता है यमुना के अंदर, वो जो पानी छोड़ा जाता है हथनी कुंड से, उस पानी पे ज़्यादा डिपेंडेंट है।
And let's just take a look at the rain situation in Delhi today. So as I said, the situation definitely has improved from yesterday. So you cannot see that much waterlogging as we saw over the weekend. So that's definitely a relief for Delhiites, but it is still raining. These are visuals we are showing you from today from the national capital. It is still raining, but because it was lighter compared to yesterday and day before, there's not, the waterlogging is not as bad as what we saw during the weekend. But while there's relief on the monsoon front for the national capital, on the political front, things are escalating because the Supreme Court has refused to put the centre's ordinance on hold. The centre's ordinance, which essentially took control over the administration and civil servants in the national capital, that ordinance was challenged by the Aam Aadmi Party government in Delhi, and they took the plea to the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court has refused to put this ordinance on hold for now. And in fact, they've issued a notice on this matter, and the matter will next be heard. The second plea of the Aam Aadmi Party government will next be heard on next Monday for the appointment of the LG and for the complaints and for the concerns that the Delhi government had over the Lieutenant Governor. The Delhi government, in the heated arguments in the Supreme Court, also said that the Lieutenant Governor in the capital is acting like a super chief minister. Time for a short break now. News continues on the other side. But meanwhile, you can download the NDTV app that's available for free both on iOS and Android. And that gets you real-time updates on the top news stories of the day.
A new era of truly international premium schooling is coming to India. Harrow School in the UK, over 450 years, has educated numerous prime ministers, Nobel.
That was fast, right? But tech is evolving even quicker than our abilities to adapt, and that's how I like to roll. Technology तो आप सभी के पास है, but what you need is everything else. मेरा नाम है गौरव और अब मैं आ गया हूँ NDTV नेटवर्क पे, हर रोज हर हफ्ते, अब आपके और पास. Go beyond the now.
In a world filled with noise, we bring you news that you can rely on with accuracy and integrity. Because at NDTV, trust is everything.
It's undeniable. We're facing the crisis of the generation, climate change. And it's happening. Not in some far off distant land or some millions of years away. It's happening now. And it affects everything we know and love. Information around climate change can often feel too distant, too jargony, too scary, too anxiety-filled, too technical, or too political. I'm here to change that. The Climate Explainers, part of NDTV's 6-month-long campaign, Building a Blueprint for Climate Action. The climate clock is ticking, but we're just in time.
The NDTV News Network
that informs,
inspires,
and illuminates. Watch every side of the story here on NDTV,
because the only side we're on is yours. From breaking news to in-depth analysis,
Covering the latest developments across politics,
business, and technology,
bringing you stories that shape our nation and the world.
We have a surprise for you. We're going to ask a bunch of you some special questions, and every correct answer is going to reveal what our surprise is.
I don't know.
Satya Nadella?
Jeff Bezos. Bill Gates probably.
Nehru Place. Saket.
Saket.
Mumbai?
Technical Guruji.
Tech Guruji. Technical Guruji.
Technical Guruji.
चलिए शुरू करते हैं.
When there's too much talking but very little being said, too many voices but hardly any being heard, you turn to a show that puts you front and center. A show that headlines the stories of the people, by the people, for the people. In a world with rapidly shifting power dynamics, India is emerging.
Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Business. I'm Priyanshi Sharma, and let's start with how the markets performed this Monday. Well, benchmark indices were steady through the day and ended marginally higher in trade. Metal and energy sectors rose, whereas IT and realty shares declined. Alex Matthew joins us from the BQ Prime newsroom with a wrap of all the market action. Over to you, Alex.
A weak day of trade for the Indian equity markets. If you look at the benchmark, it doesn't look too bad, with gains of about 0.1% for the Nifty 50. But you look a little deeper and you'll find that a lot of this, or rather all of this, is on account of one counter, and that's Reliance Industries, which gained about 4% or thereabouts in trade today, contributing all of the gains on the Nifty 50. You saw the metal index as a whole that also contributed, and a few of those components were shining in trade for the Nifty 50 as well. You had Tata Steel as well as JSW Steel, and with gains of close to 3% each. You also had the likes of Bharti Airtel, Adani Enterprises, HDFC Life, Sun Pharma, Bajaj Auto, as well as Hindalco gain over 1% in trade. But a bulk of the Nifty 50 as well as a bulk of the market as a whole traded in the red. You saw the market breadth favoring the declines, and the worst performers on the benchmark index today were the IT majors. You saw HCL Tech, the worst performer, down about 3% in trade. You also saw Wipro and TCS that lost ground and were among the worst performers. All three of those companies will be reporting their earnings for the first quarter later this week, and it seems that concerns about the outlook for the current financial year for these IT majors is rising as we speak. The other counter that underperformed today was Titan, which lost about 3% on account of a downgrade by a leading brokerage firm. And that's because the lean season for this jewelry major is going to be larger this financial year, and that's not very good for the business outlook for this financial year. From the sectoral perspective, you saw IT as a whole that lost about 1.2% in trade, and a bunch of other sectors also lost ground, not least of which the FMCG index, which was down about 0.8%, and auto as a pack, which also lost about 0.6%. I mentioned at the start, metal was a bright spot. That was the one sector that gained about 1.7%, and you also had oil and gas on account of Reliance Industries that was up about 0.6%. Attention focus changes to earnings now. IT is just around the corner, and the profit booking that you saw at the end of last week seems to be taking over this week as well. That's at least what we saw in the first trading session this week.
And in a conversation with BQ Prime's Neeraj Shah, Motilal Oswal's Prateek Agarwal gives an overall outlook of the real estate market. Listen.
Real estate cycle has a lot of strength. We are clued on there. There is some amount of pent up which is there, and people who are less positive because interest rates today are higher than they were in the past. Point is, now everything is variable interest rates, and at a point interest rate hence doesn't matter. You may have bought something when it was lower, now you have to pay more. If you bought today when it is higher, tomorrow you may have to pay less. So, and I think companies are going out of the way to even smoothen that for the buyers. So the thing is, if India grows strongly, and it has been doing quite well, newer industries are coming up, newer locations are popping up. So people would need housing in those spaces. As people get called back to work in the IT space, again, in certain geographies, we are seeing very good housing demand. So I think this is something which is sustainable. More expensive locations also, like Bombay, are seeing good demand. So cheaper locations where you see newer businesses move are really seeing very good demand. So in terms of investing, we have very little exposure as a house to real estate. We are more exposed to real estate ancillaries. So cement is something that we have some exposure to. But what happens is when a house gets built, pipes get fitted, so we have some pipe companies, cement companies. A house is the biggest expense. So ancillaries in many cases are, to our mind, a better way of playing this space rather than buying builders themselves.
And Reliance Industries was the talk of the Dalal Street today. The stock surged to a 52-week high, adding 70,000 crore rupees to its market capitalization. This as investors made a beeline to buy the shares following the announcement of the record date for the demerger of Geo Financial Services. BQ Prime Sajith Mangat spoke to Deven Choksi of KR Choksi Shares and Securities about the road ahead for Geo Financial Services. Listen in.
Geo Financial Services, I think it looks, reasonably clear proposition at this point of time. On one side, they are starting with a net worth of around 28,000 crores, which is a cash net worth in the balance sheet. Along with that, they have got the holding, 6% plus holding in Reliance Industries, which is basically valuing somewhere around 110,000 crores plus. So somewhere in the vicinity of around 130,000, 140,000 crore worth of book size of the net worth, I think, that the company is assuming to get started with. That number itself, I think, will put Geo Financial Services ahead of everybody else in the listed universe included in our marketplace. Because I think the size of the NBFC would be, I think, far bigger than even the largest NBFC, which is Bajaj Finance. Bajaj Finance currently holds net worth of around 45,000 crores, as against which you are talking about 3 times plus higher amount of net worth for Geo Financial Services of 1,40,000 crores. So that would possibly put the book size, potential book size for the company eventually between 7.5 lakh crore to 10 lakh crore. I think which would probably, in my viewpoint, happen over the next 3 years' time.
Moving on, the earnings season is round the corner, and it is the IT companies which will kick off the season. Analysts expect that constrained spending by large banks will weigh on sales and profit margins. Tushar joins us with the details.
For Indian IT companies, the first quarter earnings are likely to be in various shades of grey. April-June is traditionally the strongest quarter for Indian IT firms, but not this time. A banking crisis in the biggest market, the United States, has constrained spending by large banks, and that's weighed on revenue and margins, dragging on the earnings outlook for the year. What one should watch out for is deal making in Q1. The project ramp down seen in January-March will show in Q1 earnings. The deal making pie has shrunk. A lot of companies are vying for fewer deals, and that's likely to result in pricing pressure, which effectively means a hit to revenue and margins. Clients are also looking at insourcing rather than outsourcing. Point in question is TCS's scrapped 10-year deal with Transamerica. Add to that wage hikes in the new fiscal, and you're looking at even more pressure on margins. Another thing to watch out for is company commentary on how they see the second half of FY24. That's important because while a washout in the first half was a given, now the entire year is seen under pressure. Analysts believe that the full year will be a washout now. But there's a silver lining. TCS and Infosys, the industry bellwethers, have clocked some large deal wins in the recent past, and their generative AI bets are starting to pay off. And according to some reports, they are also hiring more. All said, we can expect and anticipate the worst, but the real picture will be clear in a couple of days. TCS kicks off the earnings season on Wednesday.
And the 50th GST Council will meet tomorrow in the national capital, and on the top of the agenda is the discussion on tax levy recommendations on online gaming, casinos and horse racing. My colleague Janani joins us with the details of what else to expect from the Council's meet.
On Tuesday, the 50th GST Council meeting will take place in the national capital, and on the agenda are some much anticipated subjects, such as the GOM report on online gaming, casinos and horse racing. The GST Council members will be voting for a rate of tax and the mechanism of levy or the point of taxation for the three above mentioned events. Now we have to remember that the report on the subject was submitted way back in December, but a final call has not been taken. Also on the agenda is the implementation of the GST Appellate Tribunal. The Council approved the setting up of the Appellate Tribunal in its last meeting in February after the budget. However, legislative changes are yet to be made by states, and the communication on the number of benches that each state is requiring is also yet to be received. The constitution and structure, however, were approved in the last meeting itself. Now, we've learned by talking to some member ministers that some aim to bring forth the matter of revising the revenue sharing model between state and centre. Currently, the sharing ratio under GST is 50-50. The Council will also discuss on various recommendations made by the Fitment Committee, such as exempting tax on the import of certain medicines, including cancer treatment drugs, exemption on private satellite launching services, and a clarity has also been sought on the taxability of food and beverages served in cinema halls. Now currently they're at 18% like all restaurant services, but this could change. A taxation on multi-utility vehicles is also being sought, and the department is likely to get the Council to vote on measures to curb fake GST registration and fraudulent IT claims. This means drawing stricter verification boundaries like biometric identification and even physical verification in some cases.
And moving on, torrential rains are lashing North India. The rains have wreaked havoc, leaving a trail of deaths and loss of property in several North Indian states, but the states of Punjab and Haryana will likely get some relief very soon. According to the SkyMet President GP Sharma, the situation in these two states and Jammu and Kashmir is likely to improve starting today. Listen in.
Mountains will have a relief. Okay, I think the relief will start for Jammu Kashmir region today itself. Okay. Himachal will have one more day, today also activity, and then tomorrow onwards I think it becomes better. Uttarakhand will have to wait for possibly another total 3 days or so. It will come under inclement weather conditions. As far as the plains are concerned, yes, you can expect improvement over parts of Punjab, Haryana. Delhi will also have mild activity as compared to the previous 2 days. Today also, you can expect some rain shower. One odd shower will be very intense and heavy also. But that is total. For the past 2 days, Delhi experienced triple-digit rainfall, more than 100 millimeters on 2 successive days. It doesn't normally happen. Delhi doesn't see. Next 2 days, today and tomorrow also, showers are likely, but then the intensity will be less, as well as they'll be intermittent, they will not be continuous rains. Okay, so will be the case with the other parts also of Punjab, Haryana and adjoining region. Most of the weather activity in the coming days, that's about next 3 days, that will remain confined to parts of Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, North Madhya Pradesh and West Madhya Pradesh, and also southwestern parts of Uttar Pradesh and adjoining to Uttarakhand. This is the pocket which is going to be very active in the next about 3 days. Yes.